This is a supplemental real estate property tax statement. What's the difference between this and village property? Is it just in a different order? Is that what I'm missing?
I'll take that.
Yep, sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, it just was stacked different.
Yeah.
Supplemental bill for 2020-21, map lot R05-031. And this is for $871.75. Supplemental tax bill for current year, Lebanon map lot R12-014-A000. Ownership correction. This is for $2,896.11.
It's on now.
Supplemental tax bill for the current year, Lebanon map lot R11-012-A000. Ownership correction, and that is for $598.34. Is that it for paperwork?
That's a big one.
Yeah, right?
I have a question on this one. Is this something we're gonna be leaving at 0 forward?
That's the town hall?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, because this is tax exempt, so.
Okay, thanks. You gave them all back, Butch? Almost, we're almost done. We're almost done.
Forgot my name.
She just said it was on.
Yeah.
You just,
Yep.
yeah, you just told me it was. But I still can't see it. I just did all that. That's his planning board too.
Thank you.
All right, agenda items, why don't we start with you, Chief, though, even though you're on the agenda, what brings you in tonight?
Well, I just wanted to give everybody an update on our week. I've been trying to, wanted to keep you guys updated and everybody else on what's been going on. And so this week has been an up and down week for the fire department. We did do our fire prevention with the school. Unfortunately, we had a call today, so we had to leave a little bit early for that. But it was a great time. The kids were perfect. The teachers were all great. Everybody was set up, so there was the distancing and all that, and we covered a lot. So we were very, very happy to do that. And it was a fun time for us all, especially me, seeing the kids, my grandkids' age. It meant a lot to me. We've had some issues with our trucks this week, but we've adapted it and overcome. And we've got them, all but one right now back in service. I had 4 trucks go down on me yesterday. Yeah, but you know, that was part of the job. And we got 3 of them back up today, and I'm hoping by tomorrow I'll have the next one back up and ready to go, and we'll be back at 100%.
Very nice.
So I'm really, really happy with the way everything's going. Everybody from the volunteers to the firefighter EMTs have been just incredible.
Awesome.
It's pretty much my update. The Stephen King and Tabitha King grant should be finalized tomorrow. Just needed to get with Paul and finish up a couple numbers that I wasn't sure of. And everything's going good, and Stacy as well. So we're right on pace. That should be submitted tomorrow. And other than that, everything is just, we're happy as can be, and we're getting some new members on. I'm taking on 2 per diem help, and we're waiting on some background checks, and we'll have some volunteer firefighters as well.
Very nice.
Very, very happy.
How long does it take to hear back from the Stephen King grant?
Well, the deadline, I believe it's the 16th of October, and since this is my first time, I'm sure they have a lot to go through, so I would say a couple, 3-4 months, I would assume, but again, I could be wrong. So it's, you know, they have a process, they do an evaluation score, just like any grant, whether it's a federal grant or whatever, you know, they have their readers, and then they move it up the chain and prove it to the final stage, so.
Very nice. So, happy to be here, I take it? It seems like it?
I am, you know,
Working
like
your
I
tail
said,
off and-
it's been up and down, and I knew coming in, and I am very happy here. I love my job. I've got great firefighters, EMTs. They're really, really stepping up. The community has been behind me, behind the fire department, and I cannot ask for a better situation to be in.
Awesome.
How are all the structural improvements coming?
They are coming along very well. I'm hoping next week, our final cement floor will be in. Okay, it's a self-leveling cement floor in the training room. We've already filled it in. It's filled in perfectly. And then self-leveling floor will be in, like I said, he scheduled me, I think, for Wednesday as a tentative date. Our bathrooms will be finished tomorrow maybe, or definitely by the weekend. Our shower will be finished. The flooring will be put in. We're really going at an excel pace that has just blown me right away. So we are definitely, it's gonna be a station that not only the firemen, but everybody in this town can be proud of, from what it was to where it's going to be.
Are you gonna be working on the roofing this year soon?
The roofing has been fixed, except for the rafters, and I'm waiting to hear from a specialist who deals with that. It's just a matter of, they cut one rafter when they put a stairway up there, so it's just a matter of having that stabilized. The holes that were in there from all the years of the screws popping out and all that, I had a guy come in and he volunteered his time, went through and filled every hole in that roof. He inspected the roof for me. He felt confident that we're gonna get a couple of years out of it and not a problem. And again, he mentioned, you know, that one rafter, it's just a company, comes in, it's a quick fix, it's not a life-threatening situation, and it can be, you know, used, and it will be fixed. I have to prioritize my life safety factors with the guys, and I'm confident, and plus all that upstairs is gonna be cleaned out and cleaned out as well.
Great.
So it's all positive.
Every day's work.
Yeah, very, very good days. I'll be calling you.
Yeah.
But again, we're very happy with everything, we really are. We are getting a lot of calls. Our ambulance crews are handling every call. We had to call in one mutual aid ambulance last night about 1:30 because we were on a call where we had wires down and actual fire a little bit of fire going into the woods, and with the conditions of the woods, I didn't want to pull anybody away from there. It was close to Milton, so Milton came in, and that's what mutual aid is all about. So we should be very proud of our members because they are definitely stepping up. I've had, since I started, well over 110 calls. And we've handled 90, I want to say roughly about 97 to 98%. And the only times, thank you, appreciate that. it's the volunteers stepping up and everybody. So what's really good about that is, we're not having to call in, Sanford is a very, very busy department. And they were handling a lot of calls before I came in. And I had a lot of good talks with the chief up there. He's a great guy, and I understood his concerns. And when I sat down and talked to our crew, I said, guys, here's my goal. Here's our goal. Here's your fishing bait, whatever. Let's take it and run with it. And boom, boom. The only time we call in mutual aid, unless it's a situation like last night, is if we need a paramedic. If it's during it, sometimes we have paramedic coverage, but most of the time, we handle it all, unless we have to call a paramedic. So definitely nothing but praise for everybody on that department.
Do you know what the percentage was of mutual aid handling our calls before you came, by chance? Is that
Right, I can tell you from conversations I had, and I could be off, but if I said 50 to 60%, I don't think I'm too far off. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Like I said, once it got announced that I got the job, I was getting texts from chiefs, and I really don't blame them. Saying, Chief, you need to come down, we're covering your town. We went there 4 times today, perfectly understandable.
Yep.
And, so that is a complete turnaround. And I'm getting comments about the guys and gals that, hey, your crews are responding. We don't hear you calling for mutual aid unless a paramedic. And this is coming from some of my people around the town. And to me, that is perfect right there.
That's what you want to hear.
That is what I want to hear.
Kudos, Joe.
There's a reason it's called mutual aid, right?
Exactly. And we are getting back, and it's gonna be a slow process, but as far as our mutual aid goes, we're gonna get back into our mutual aid at 100%. Right now, we were taken off the fire side and even on the EMS side, and I perfectly understand. But mark my words that within a short time, our crews will be up and running, we'll have the manpower, and we will be providing the top-notch mutual aid service that I promised everybody when I took this job. And that's because of these guys stepping up.
Very nice.
Awesome. Anything else?
I'm good, I'm happy.
I do have one thing I'd like to say to you, and one question.
Okay,
I've heard nothing but good praises about everything that you're doing.
thank you, appreciate that.
Several comments that they thought it was an incredibly intelligent move if you're gonna have one station to centrally locate it more in the middle of town.
Thank you.
So many people are very impressed with you right out of the gate.
Well, that means a lot to me, I thank you very much.
That's what rumor is on the street from my neck of the woods.
That's the kind of rumor I
I
like to hear.
thought that you would like to hear that, yes,
Well,
sir.
and it's good, you looked at the structural report to see which
did.
building was the easiest to.
I took a look at the reports, scratched my head, I shook my head, and wondered why and how.
Well, I know both buildings have had their surprises.
Oh, I
and
gave him a copy of the
Yes.
structural report the day we.
Challenges, that's the word,
And
challenges.
when I met with the select people, we walked through both stations.
Mm.
And when I was at Station 2, I was like, and then when I walked over to Station 1 with everybody, it just felt right. Number one, it's a safety factor for me, for my crews to respond. I feel 100% safer with them responding off of Upper Cross or Depot Street than cutting out onto 202 in the middle of the afternoon. Because we all know 202 is a crazy, crazy road.
Mhm.
This way, our crews can get out there and we can get a full response. We don't usually have to wait. And cars are really good. When they see our lights coming out of the station, they stop and let us go through. So I think that
Yeah, you're right, that's a big key right there, having the,
it was a huge safety factor. And these guys heard me when they're like, oh my God, look at this traffic. This is a lot more than Newport Center. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're very happy. We are gonna have a grand opening, or re-grand opening, I guess you wanna call it, once we can get in and get things situated. Our training room, you folks are gonna be very proud of. I am already very proud, and it's tore apart right now, but you won't even recognize it. So the town, when we have our grand opening, we're gonna spread it out, so the COVID concerns and all that, and I hope that people will be very happy that this is their station.
excellent.
So your question?
My question is, previous to your taking on this position, a situation came up where there was an EMT who came to a call driving the ambulance alone.
Mhm.
The person may be a wonderful EMT, but their ability to maneuver ambulance in an appropriate manner was lacking,
Okay.
to say the least.
Okay.
So, this is not a question that I necessarily even expect you to answer at
Well,
this
answer.
time.
I don't-
No, there's no
that's
pressure to answer at this time, because
Yeah.
it's more of a food for thought question, so you're under no pressure there.
Yeah.
But take into consideration, when you put an EMT in an ambulance, make sure that they're able to drive a full-size pickup with a camper or a van with no mirrors, and make sure that before you put an EMT behind the wheel of one of your ambulances, that they are able to maneuver your equipment.
So this is a
Effectively, so.
public concern, and this is what I need to
That's
do.
that's why I said it's nothing against you, there's no
No.
pressure to answer
No,
it,
and
it's
I don't
just,
mind answering it, because
it's
this is a
just-
concern of my taxpayers.
right, it's really not a question that you could even really answer right
I
now.
can answer it, because,
So-
so, one of my key answers is before August 31st, because that was the day I was hired. But I can tell you that before anybody gets in behind the steering wheel, they have training. It's called Emergency Vehicle Operations Training. Not to mention the training that they have as an EMT and the local training that we give them, that they are all trained. Number two, I've implemented a rule for all my firefighters, whether it's a fire piece of apparatus or any vehicle, that when you're backing up a vehicle, you will have what we call a spotter, a person backing up, okay? I've implemented that rule. Then I'm willing to bet that probably wasn't the case there, but
She was the
again,
only
She's by
person,
herself.
again,
Yeah,
and you know,
she was by
and
herself.
unfortunately,
and we had a patient that was bleeding out from the neck,
Right,
that
there was
should have gotten
somebody-
medical attention at Miner's Restaurant prior to coming
again,
to
that's.
my property, it's way before your
right,
time.
Right,
But,
so,
I even said, just put the thing in park and go look at the patient.
okay,
And no, she knew that 2 Sanford ambulances were on their way.
Mhm.
So, could've worried about how the ambulance was situated
Well,
after
one
the
of-
fact. The point was we had somebody bleeding from the neck, they'd been bleeding all day, it ended up being internal because glue stitches came out from the
Right.
surgery. The person needed medical attention immediately, not
again, some of the
dilly-dallying
priorities.
around for 20 minutes.
Well, and understandable, some of the priorities that we're trained is, number one, we need to put our vehicle in a position so we can scoop and load. Number two, not being there, I'm going to assume, and I know there was people that were responding. Back then, when we didn't have the full coverage like we have now, there was one person coming with mutual aid coming, okay? That situation is rectified. We
I
have
just wanna
nothing.
make sure, her name was Jessica.
No,
Hey,
it wasn't-
can we leave names out of it, please?
Yeah, that's a personnel issue, but I'll be right up front with you, it wasn't Jess, okay? I know who it was.
And that's why we leave names out, because you called somebody out who wasn't even there.
And it's just, for me, it's a personnel issue, and I don't discuss.
Well, the only reason I wanted to clarify it wasn't Jenna, because if.
Yeah, I know, because she's your
I didn't mean to say
That's not the
she or
point.
he, so.
No, this
Well-
is, yeah, and this is, let me finish, I don't wanna get caught up in this. So, and again, it wasn't, Jess, but I don't discuss.
I'm sorry, I got the name
No,
correct.
you're good, you're
Very,
good.
very, very sorry.
That's okay, I'm all good with that.
I should have just said, I want to clarify that it was not Jenna.
And that's
Should've
fine
left
with
it
me,
at
to
that.
me.
She can back up.
Well,
Again, it doesn't matter who backs up, everybody's gonna have a backup, whether you've been doing it for 1 year or like me for over years. So,
I can't.
but it's a rule, and, there were people coming, and I will be happy to answer any questions at any time, that's why I'm here. I'd like to hear comments, and I will do them here. The couple things that I don't discuss is personnel issues, I can't discuss medical issues of people involved because of HIPAA, and everybody knows HIPAA, if you can say something wrong, you're putting everybody's neck on the line. But I will be more than happy to answer any questions, and my main concern is the fire department, okay? I handle the fire department, I'm the fire department head, I take care of my people, I take care of our buildings, and I do whatever I can. If people have a complaint, they all know I'm the person, come see me, and I will do whatever I can to fix it. And if I can't fix it, I'm gonna look you square in the eyes and say, I can't fix it. But if I can fix it, there's a chance that I can, and I'll do what I can, if it's right for me and my fire
well,
department.
it's not a big deal, but they should probably practice backing up.
Again,
And being able to
that all
turn around.
comes with training, okay, that all comes with training, and emergency vehicle operations, and the fact that they won't be by themselves anymore. I do.
That's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
In defense of the driver, I mean, I drove truck all my life, big ones, little ones, in tight spots, wherever. Every time you back up, it's a different spot.
Yep.
And like you said, you gotta have that guy behind you. You don't know if people are running behind you, you can't see everything.
No. I have seen damages to beautiful trucks, both in Vermont, overseas when I was working for the military, and all my jobs in states here. You know, people have that mentality, I don't need a spotter, we call it backup, I don't need it, and then boom, they run right into the side of my building. Now I not only have damage to my truck, I got damage to my building. I have a damage, we just bought a brand new fire truck a couple years back up north. One individual says, I don't need a backup, guess who got a big dent on the side of my truck, brand new truck? That same individual. Had he had a backup, they would have never had a spotter. So I am very, very strict on things like that,
Excellent.
okay?
Yep.
And I know too, there's SOPs where they have to, about backing up the truck into the building,
Right, and that's why.
because it's so tight.
Yeah, and we just had this talk the other day, and I don't mind sharing it, that I don't wanna say the law was laid down, because I'm not that kind of person, but they were strictly told, you will not back a rig up, even on an emergency scene, without somebody backing you up. If you can't back it up in a safe manner, you park it right there, and then you go do what your job. But because now with our new policies and the amount of people we got covering our town, we will be covered for that, and that won't happen.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate it. Anytime you have any questions, I'm always available and I will answer any questions.
Alright.
Cool. Anybody else? I'm just looking around.
Well, as long as you're not like the last chief and have some part-time jobs and a full-time job in Lebanon, you're all right by me.
This is my job. I love it, and I'm doing what I can. I'm putting in a lot of hours, but it's just the type of person I am. And if I didn't love it, and if I didn't like being in this town, I wouldn't be putting the hours I did. So I guarantee you that you will get 180% out of me, 180% of the time. That I can guarantee. And if I'm not feeling good.
I don't think you would be getting the community support that you've gotten overwhelmingly if you weren't,
Who you are.
impressing some people
Well, I
and,
appreciate that. That means a lot to me. It really does.
I guess, rubbing people the right way instead of the wrong way.
I'm sure in the time frame, I hope it never happens, but I will cross a couple hairs, but you know.
Don't please all the people all the time, it's not
No,
possible, no matter how hard you try.
We do the best we can do, and we
Yes,
do
sir,
what
we
we
do.
think is right for not only our community, but, you know, our mutual aid and everybody around.
Did I hear you mention the homeless camps earlier?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So-
I forgot.
I was, tasked with figuring out, the situation. So what I did is I went down on Lower Cross, Upper Cross, Upper Guinea, and I hit a couple other back roads, and I called dispatch and I said, I'm gonna do some 911 tests on my phone. I need you to tell me where I am. Everyone I did, they pinpointed right where I was. They told me, you're in the area of 642 Lower Cross or 642 Upper Cross, and I was looking at the mailbox. So I am confident that in those specific situations where I think these are, we're gonna be covered. Okay, there's a couple dead spots when we go up, and there's nothing we can do about that. But there's enough houses and people around that area that I'm 100% confident that we will get to any call that comes in based on a cell phone call.
Excellent. That's all I was worried about.
Awesome,
All right?
thanks for everything.
No problem. Appreciate it. You guys have a great night.
Where are you off to tonight?
I'm going back to the station and I'm getting ready to go see my grandkids.
Oh, nice.
Alright, best thing in life right there, enjoy.
Thank you, everybody.
Drive safe.
Take care.
Mr. Bragdon,
Hey,
how are you?
good, how are you?
You know, hanging in there.
See, I'm by myself. This one,
Cheaper that way.
yeah, a lot cheaper.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, how are you, buddy? This one could be a pretty quick one, I hope. I'm here tonight to ask the board if I can get an extension on my building permit for 1384 Carbrogi Highway. Between the situation that we found ourselves in last year, starting in November, I couldn't afford to do the construction that I needed to do at the location. because I didn't know what the outcome was gonna be, so I couldn't invest any more money into that. And I didn't get my occupancy permit until last week. So, in the meantime, my building permit has expired.
When did it expire?
It expired in May of this year. May 7th was
You
the
got
official date.
delayed, you got delayed having your hearing because of COVID.
COVID, and everything was backed up because of COVID. I couldn't get any contractors in to do work or anything. So I'm asking for a 6-month extension on that building permit to finish up the work that's,
Will that be enough for you think?
yeah, I think 6 months I can have it finished. That's,
6 months from today or 6
yeah,
months
6
from May
months from
7th?
now.
And that's,
6 months from,
part of the reason is because they want to charge, there's a charge to,
well, there's a major difference in price, because that fee's gone up. The new permit would cost me approximately $3,500.
Wow.
And I've already bought it twice and just never got a chance to finish it,
so your appeals board hearing was put off for a couple months, was it not?
It was, I believe he was originally scheduled to come in February,
Yes.
and then because of COVID, the office was closed and we couldn't get him in. And then after his hearing, of course, there were other issues and we were back and forth on that, so. I mean, I think Mr. Bragdon has done his due diligence.
Oh, yeah, no, I
think he's
agree.
paid quite enough.
I'll make a motion, we extend his building permit for 6 months at no charge.
So actually, that would be for almost a year,
Extend it for
because
6 months.
it ran out on May 7th, he said. If we work 6 months from now, would be almost a year.
Okay. Yes, Deborah?
I would probably do it like Karina says and extend it a year from May 7th. And the reason being is that the normal extensions for a building permit are for a year. And since it expired on May 7th, it would look like, if you did one like now for 6 months, it would look like he got a whole new permit. So probably I would go back to the date it expired and give him for a year.
Well, I'll amend the motion, thank you, Karina, for a year from the date it expired.
Second it.
Discussion?
Do we have authorization to do that? Or does he have to go to appeals?
I don't know the answer to that, but
Because it's
I
an
think
ordinance.
I'm sorry?
Because it's an ordinance. So.
But that if I think you could probably make a call tomorrow, Chuck, and figure that out because of the emergency orders by the governor. Everything has been changed, and I don't think he should have to come back to appeals board. Speaking as a chairman, I don't think he should have to
No,
come
I
back
don't think you should either, but
to appeals board to get that amended. And I think probably if Lynn probably makes a call tomorrow, you find out it would be covered under that emergency order.
so I'll withdraw my motion and I will make a call to the attorney tomorrow, is that who I should
No,
call?
it's fine. I just don't want us to get
I
in the
get
mess.
you, no, absolutely, 100%. And find out if we're able to do it legally.
Okay, yeah.
And I think with, like she said, the state of emergency and everything, I think it's only fair that you get it extended.
Right.
Then if you want, I'll give you a call tomorrow after I talk to the attorney. I think if the attorney's okay with it, is the rest of the board gonna be all right with it?
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Okay. So then we'll make a formal motion next week,
All right,
but I'll call and let you know what the attorney says and,
all right, thank you very much.
yep, thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Nobody wants.
Good luck.
I have.
Well, good evening.
You too. Terry,
Yes,
how are you tonight?
I'm fine.
You're up.
Thank you for your personal concern. The first question is, I want you to explain why you felt it necessary to discriminate against me and my activities at Charlie's Hill when I have less than 100 people all the time. Labor Day weekend, there was over 1,700 people at the proving ground.
I've already explained this. I've already explained it,
No,
yes,
you
I have,
haven't.
yeah, I have,
No, I haven't.
I
Let me
have.
finish my question. So you made such a stink that you happened to get interviewed by Channel 13.
I didn't make a stink, they contacted us, so let's keep it
Who's
factual.
us? Who did they contact to find us?
Myself and Paul.
I'm not talking to you.
I don't care.
Deb, please.
I'm talking to
2 weeks ago you said.
I know.
Russell should be able to do this, Mr. Russell should be able to do this all by his big self, without any help from anyone
If you're
else.
gonna keep being sarcastic, you can leave. Okay?
I'm trying to
I've
be
shown
very
nothing but
pleasant.
respect to you. I expect the same. Okay?
Sure you don't need to get that?
I don't.
So, my question is, when you say they contacted us, who is they and who is us?
We were talking about Channel 13, so that's who
Correct.
contacted us. So it was Mr. Philbrick and myself, that's who they contacted.
Mr. Philbrick and yourself.
Yes.
Through
I wasn't here, I think it went through Stacy.
Stacy, yeah.
And when was this? That they contacted the two of you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Must have been the day of, or the day before.
Yeah, I think it was the day before the interview. That'd be my guess.
And you declined to do an interview?
I never called them.
You never returned their call. So you were outreached by a phone call, an email? How did Channel 13 reach out to you?
No, Stacy forwarded the message to me.
What's that?
Stacy forwarded the message to me that Channel 13 wanted to talk to somebody.
Okay, but you
Which
you
normally-
opted not to return that call?
Normally it would be the chair that.
Yeah, okay.
So being the chairman, I did call them.
You opted
I opted to
to
call
have
them.
them
Yep,
come and interview you?
yep.
And that was Thursday?
I don't remember the day.
Okay, well, it was Thursday.
Okay.
And it was also prior to a selectmen's meeting that Thursday night, correct?
I don't know if it was Thursday, then it was prior to the selectmen's meeting, yes?
Okay, so it was Thursday that the interview was done,
Well,
because
you
they
know,
also
or are you asking, because
contacted.
I don't remember?
Well, I'm asking what you recall. I'm asking what you recall and what you don't recall, that's all I'm asking.
I just told you.
Okay, well, I'm just clarifying, that's what I'm asking, what you recall. So, you did the interview on Thursday, and then Thursday night, there was a selectmen's meeting. You represented yourself as representing the Board of Selectmen and representing the town.
Didn't we already go
What
over
you-
this? We already went over
No,
this
we
last
didn't.
week.
And
Yeah,
what
we
you
did. I think we
stated-
did. You talked for
and
an
what
hour and
you
45
stated-
minutes. Terry,
Let me
hang on a
finish my
second.
question.
Hang on, Terry, you talked for an hour and 45 minutes, this is one of the things you brought up. Yes. They called the office, emailed, it was forwarded to Paul and I responded, I did an interview. I spoke to the town attorney who had
Represented-
concerns, I didn't represent anybody.
You clearly did. Would you
Well,
like
the
me to
town
play-
attorney was, the
Would
town
you like me
attorney,
to
I
play
would
the
not like
interview
it.
for you, Mr. Russell?
I would not like
Because you
it.
clearly represented that you were representing the town and the Board of Selectmen.
The town
All
attorney
of
was
the members of the
concerned.
board did not know a thing about it, for one, and that night, you had the opportunity to inform the rest of the board, yourself included, Corinna included,
Oh, the big
and
red?
Jeff Adams included. Mr. Russell should have let the entire board know that he had represented you as a board and the town in what he had said for that interview for the television station. He failed to notify the rest of the board. Now, perhaps you were already aware of it ahead of time. Perhaps Jeff Adams was already aware of it at the time. Perhaps Corinna's the only one who was not aware of it. That's happened often. Don't laugh and giggle. Because many times, Ms. Cole has been left out of emails,
That's bull.
meetings,
That's
really?
bull. Yes, that's bull. If you wanna keep going, we'll keep going. She's got every email that I've ever got, cause I see it right there that everything's put to her at the same time it's put to me.
Well, usually we get left out on a lot of things, though.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we
How many union meetings have you, sir, been invited to?
How many what?
How many union meetings have you been invited to since you were selectman?
Terry, I'm
I
gonna
won't
stop
go to
you
a
here.
union meeting, 'cause I don't believe in the union.
What's that?
I don't believe in the union.
But that's somebody, okay, that's
Terry,
wonderful.
Terry, the process
How
has
many
been,
have you been
Terry,
invited
stop
to?
for a minute,
Doesn't
Terry.
matter.
You know what, I'm just gonna make a motion to adjourn here in a
Doesn't
second,
matter.
Terry, if you can't behave yourself.
If I can't behave myself,
Yes,
I don't have the right to ask these questions of the
you do,
board.
but you don't have the right to talk over people.
It's my turn, who am I talking over?
Me, because I'm gonna explain, it's been for years, the chair or the vice chair, or the chair and the vice chair meet with the union rep. It's a normal thing.
Well, in the previous times, all members of the select board were invited to attend all union meetings.
That's
And
not
that-
true.
Yeah, that's not true?
Nope,
That's not true.
that's not true.
Do you think it's fair that people get left out of union meetings every time? Do you think that it's fair that people don't get notifications that all the board members get? I mean, are there things that only the
do I think
chair and
it's
the
fair
vice
you're
chair are
making-
allowed to know about?
Yes, and I think you're making stuff up.
I'm making stuff
You are
up.
making, it's obvious you're making stuff up. You are. That's what you're doing. You're
I'm asking
inflaming the
questions.
situation.
I'm asking questions.
Yes, I do.
Am I not asking questions?
I just answered your
You think that
question.
you're privy and the vice chair's privy to information that the other three selectmen are not privy to?
Sometimes,
That's
yes.
your testimony.
Sometimes,
Sometimes.
yes.
Just like sometimes you feel like leaving the door open, sometimes you don't.
Okay.
Sometimes you feel like worrying about COVID, sometimes you
Terry,
don't.
you're turning it into a circus again. What do you have to
No, it's
say?
your circus, not my circus.
You're right, it is, and that's what's so embarrassing about it. You're right.
Snacks, cookies, goldfish,
All right.
giggling, interrupting,
All right, Terry, your time's
snickering,
over. Thanks for coming.
making faces. Oh no, my time's not done.
Oh, it is.
It's my turn.
Your
Every
time-
other week, remember you
your-
made me wait 6 weeks.
Your time's done,
That's
Terry.
only
I
one.
make a motion that she has 3 minutes left
She's
talking,
done.
that's it.
She's done. I'm all set. Thanks, Terry. Have a good day. Mr. White, what brings you in today?
Oh no, I'm not done.
Yeah,
I'm not
you are done.
How can you stop me?
Because we can.
I can't.
You made a motion, and he said, nah, because you don't follow proper procedure. It's a very good reason why you are on the recall.
He's got the right to ask anybody to leave this room.
Why? I'm asking
Because
you
it
a
says it in the
question
bylaws,
Because he's the
for any reason at any time.
Yep.
For any reason at any time.
especially if people act
I
out
mean,
like
I
you.
don't know
Well, that's
about
not a
any
very
reason
fair,
at a time,
what's the
but
point of
this is
having
a real
five?
good
We may as
reason.
well just have Mr. Mayor sitting over there making all the rules and decisions, right?
He don't,
Right?
he don't, does he?
Does anybody wanna physically, look how I'm behaving? Listen, Mr. Instigator, listen, Mr. Instigator.
All right, Terry.
Okay, you guys are.
You know what, Terry?
I don't care.
Enough.
I don't care. This is a ridiculous circus, and it's your circus. You created it.
You create the circus.
There's 3 rings.
Exactly.
All right, please, guys, please.
See this? I'm
Let's
being
not,
thrown out of the meeting for no reason.
no reason.
Because
Really, no reason.
Hey, no, please, guys, please, David's got the floor. How are you, David?
I'm just fine, Chuck.
Thanks for coming in today.
I didn't call in on that expose that went on. I did see it on the computer,
Oh, yeah, the town meeting, yeah.
if that's what you want to call it. And I have to agree with Karen Garish. This town should be embarrassed. Actually, it should be Karen Garish. It should be Miss Poirier. It should be her. It should be Mr. Thorpe. Mr. Thorpe is so concerned about this town, he's worried about you not wearing sneakers or shoes. There are more important issues in this town than that, and I have yet to have heard anybody, except for very few socialists/communists, that want to disrupt this government and these meetings. First off, I know that it was Chip Harlow that slipped that under the carpet, because we never talked about the issue of the write-ins at a board meeting. He slipped that in at the last minute.
Correct.
Okay? So, when Ms. Garish gets her facts together, maybe she should come in, or maybe she should do a little more investigating. As far as those issues down there on Sewell Shore, that's another one of Chip's messes that he got this town into. Because he's the one that started the bullshit over it. Everybody was happy, they were legitimate building permits, and he stuck his nose in. But I understand, he's got a friend over off of, down there by the store. You take the left off Hubbard Road. He's got a friend that built a house on a lot that wasn't suitable to build on, but it was his friend, and it was right after he got elected. You know, the issue is this, that before these people speak, you ought to get their head out of their ass, take a breath of fresh air, and do a little homework. As far as the recall, you're next. If he loses, you're next for disseminating confidential information to your sweet little friends, okay?
She did a
So
FOA request for lawyer
I
bills.
don't give a shit who.
It
You
wasn't
had no
me.
business.
Hey, come on,
There was
David,
not
David,
me.
She
please.
did a FOA request,
David,
which was
please.
on the lawyer's
Karina.
bills,
Karina,
not me.
You had no business giving it to Garish.
I didn't give it to her, she did a FOA request, so get your facts straight.
No, it's not gonna happen in executive
hey,
session.
hey, Dee Dee, please, Dee Dee,
It was
please.
on the, it was
Hey,
on the.
David, have a good night.
Not personal information that you share.
She's next.
It was Freedom of Information Act that Karen got from the clerk, had nothing to do with
Don't like
criminal.
it, you did it.
All right, stop, please,
Not me.
please,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah, okay.
please. Old business. Oh, you missed public participation. If you still wanna talk.
It was on the lawyer bill.
Karen, please.
Mike Fallsworth, Upper Crossroad. I wanted to talk about the 5-minute rule. I thought it was gonna get implemented tonight, but I don't think it was.
5-minute rule for public participation.
Yeah,
That is, she was on the agenda, that's why it's more than 5 minutes.
okay, all right. Yeah, so I saw that on the agenda. I might have missed it, but I don't remember seeing discussion about that before it was implemented. But I would have maybe spoke up before if I'd seen it, but I just wanted to raise concerns with that rule. Concerns for the board. I think that implementing rules like that, I understand the reason, but I think it's a slippery slope. As soon as you get off of that 5 minutes, for whatever reason, you're open to lawsuits, which will cost the town money. You're open to unruly residents when you got to call in the police. So I just wanted
Can you
to
clarify for me, so you say we
Well, so,
shouldn't have a 5-minute?
Well, I don't have an answer for you. That's
Well, okay,
that's what you got.
let me clarify real quick for you. If someone has something that's extended to talk about, they can make a phone call and get put on the agenda.
So the 5-minute rule, from what I can see on the agenda, and again, not being able to find it in the past, it's not clear how that
It's
would.
public participation, so if someone comes in and is sitting here and they wanna speak, they have 5 minutes, or, the chairman, or if the vice chairman's doing it, or even if a selectman would ask that they get more time, they would get more time. Now, if they're on the agenda,
No, I understand. It's-
then, and speaking to a chairman of another town, he said he has a 5-minute rule for people on the agenda as well.
And I think that it's a common practice amongst towns. I just wanted to caution the board, there is a danger in doing that. Town of Alton, 5 years ago, they had a resident ended up arrested, and then the town got sued. And it was both groups' fault. So, and that's not the only example of it going poorly. So I wanted to encourage the board, there could be, I don't know what thought was put into it, what discussion was put into it. Perhaps there's a better way to deal with the time constraints of the board, or at least maybe an office memo that people can read that would explain the rules, so that when people come into the situation, they know they can ask for more time, or they know that if a question is countered to them, that doesn't count against their time. You know, you're gonna get somebody up here with a stopwatch, and they're gonna start, stop. They're gonna be down in a second. So, oh yeah, so maybe the rule was there before and I missed it, but, so I wanted to address that to the board, just a concern. Maybe there's a better alternative, or at least clarify what the expectations are.
It was just recently implemented.
I understood that, so.
Yeah, but
It was just
it was something that was done before, correct, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
And we,
More than 5 minutes or shorter.
yeah,
It's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
And it can be extended by the chairman.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention about that rule is just to talk to the residents of the town at large. I think that if we could behave as adults, we wouldn't need that rule. We could come in here, treat the board with respect. They're elected officials, they deserve respect. If you have a problem with one person, then you could deal with that outside of the board. The discussion is for the board as a group. It's not to address a concern with an individual on the board. And and we can have respect for our neighbors too, right? By us talking and taking up more than the 5 minutes, we're disrespecting our fellow residents of Lebanon. You know, it should be, it's a privilege to be up here and to address the board and the rest of the town, and I just think it's irresponsible to abuse that. So, that's all I had.
I like it, thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate you coming in.
Very nice.
Right.
And I'm not gonna stay for the whole meeting tonight, so.
Have a good night.
Old business, LED light project, still waiting on that one. Recycling, still waiting on that one. Purchasing policy, Paul, that's gonna be in January.
Yes,
Um,
it really is.
Sorry?
It really is.
Yeah. Hebo, Hybo? Nope. Nothing yet?
Well,
Butch has something?
yeah,
Which goes?
He does.
I went up last Saturday morning, took a ride up there. I was taking a person hunting, and I went up just beyond the so-called gravel pit what the town has, and just after that, and on the left, on Berube land, we looked up there and we could see smoke. So we got there was probably
Can I
a
ask,
fire.
is Berube the gentleman that came in?
Well, he's passed away, but his mother, I think, still owns some of that up there.
Okay.
So, yeah, about half the size of this room was nothing but, there was an old couch that was on the side of the road halfway up. That couch was right next to the fire. And all they were burning in there that I could find was the metal left of tires. And so went down below the pit, down in there was another place probably almost half the size of this room full of diapers, cans, and up top there was another, right beside that fire, there was all kinds of diapers and people were just, and I talked about everybody up there, we're just waiting for that one person. But I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and put the lock on it and contact everybody. The chief went up and he was disgusted the way.
And that's to keep vehicles out of there, not ATVs, correct?
For now, I mean, some of the people just mad enough, they don't even want the four-wheelers up there anymore.
Right. But
That's how bad they're getting, they're ruining the land, people's land.
Yeah.
I can show you 4 spots right on that same land that between pickup trucks and the four-wheelers were just destroyed it because there was water there, so they had to make mud. And, you know, I drive a four-wheeler too, but I mean, I don't go riding the trails or not, but I respect everybody else's being, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a shame that a few people are ruining it. Can we
It's
do
just
that, Paul, without hearing from that other landowner?
So if you don't get the locks up right away, it may prevent four-wheelers and all-terrain vehicles from.
Well, the four-wheelers you still go
Just
through.
the vehicles.
Right, but what you're saying is
Yeah, it used
that
to
if
do
the
that.
landowners pull rights, then that could interfere with abilities for the recreational vehicles to pass through, so you wanna get
Yeah, right now, I mean, the
nipped
four-wheelers,
in the bud right now, so the
four-wheelers
cars
can
can't
still
go
go
in and
through,
out.
yeah.
Right,
But if they do any much more damage, they're just gonna.
right, and the landowners can pull their permissions and then nobody
Yeah.
gets to, you're right, so it
'Cause,
makes sense to get it done.
it's like I talked to Tony the other day, and, he says, you know, he says, my mother and I own 1.25 miles up, both sides of the road. Then you get other people that got like half the road. It's like the town of Lebanon only owns half that road. The people on this side
On the other half.
own this half. So, yeah, it's just too much. If fire ever started there and headed northwest, which is right in my dad's way, never get across that swamp.
When was this that you saw the fire and the smoke?
When?
Yeah,
Saturday morning.
with it this dry, you must have been terrified.
Me?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was
that's
pissed. I was
that's
pissed.
horrifying to
I was
see that
pissed.
with everything so dry.
You know, that's my playground that I've had for years, you know, out there. I was brought up in them woods, so,
It could burn a lot down.
So, question is who would be in charge of the lock, Paul, is that?
Right.
I mean,
I'll buy the lot.
No, it just matters.
Huh?
It's who's gonna
Who's gonna
maintain
hand,
it.
have the keys?
Fire rescue.
Yeah, we'll get we'll figure out how many keys we need for everybody up there, plus the fire and probably the wardens, in case they get them. So, we'll just get together and see what we're gonna need. Cause we're gonna do the lock over, cause the last time the reason Tommy didn't put another one on, cause they kept shooting it off. So we're gonna build a block, just like stools do, pull the thing out, put a pin in, and the lock's up underneath. So you gotta reach up and lock it so they can't get at it. Yeah, last time they tried to pull the gate
So
down.
you'd take it on to make sure everybody had a key that needed it and everything and all
Yeah,
that?
before we put it up, we'll make sure everybody's got a key.
Alright, and then
All these
We'd have
people, we can either send it to
we'd have
them
to
or.
fabricate something like you talked about.
Yep, Tommy said that was fine. He could
Do it?
help fabricate it.
Okay. Well,
Might think about putting a
I'll
game
second
cam
the
up there,
Huh?
like a game cam or something.
Well, the warden's already working on that.
I'll second the motion. Any more?
Oh, and I did find a envelope there with somebody's name on it. I walked all the way through it, found the bill. So I
Did you give that to the wardens?
gave it to, chief, and he probably gave it to, cause he met up with the wardens.
Cause they will look for that person.
What's that?
The wardens will look for if they
Yeah,
find.
so he said they're gonna put cameras up, not that, how much that'll do, but it might catch somebody around there. That's a lot of, that's a lot of trash.
Game warden has the highest authority,
That's a lot of trash.
yep,
It's
in
in
the
there.
state.
Alright, all in favor? Alright, thanks Butch.
Not a problem. I'll, like I say, I'll notify Tommy and try to get all the rest of the people. And,
And maybe when you write did you do that letter? Do the letters?
well, I did the letter because we couldn't get a hold of
That's the
one.
only
Then
person.
just maybe we can send them a letter and let them know that we'll have a key if they need, if they want one.
Cause I got a couple of, like, the Berube land, she's right in Rochester, so I can just bring it over to her. She said she'd meet anytime,
Okay, awesome.
so.
Alright, rewrite solid waste ordinance, that's gonna be coming. Assistant tax collector, it's gonna be after the November election, right? Did we talk about that one?
Yes.
Transfer station laborer job, any news on that?
Nope.
Didn't nobody's applying.
Sand and salt bids?
Can we back up to that one?
Yeah, sure.
On the transfer station labor, what if we just make that a continuously open position and pick it off the list?
Sounds good.
What's that go up to Sandwood for the companies or for the sand?
Yeah, we're waiting to hear from, did you email Scott on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll never get back to him.
Okay. The no parking signs at Flat Rock?
I'm still working on getting the right person to contact there. Now that it's a corporation, it's a little more complicated.
Alright, and,
On that timber value, could somebody get me a lot of thing? Oh, get it?
That's the right question.
Cool.
Where is that? I'm curious now, because we were looking for that the other day. We were, Jen and I were looking for that. Oh, you dropped it.
Have,
Can I see it for a second?
oh, staple.
You were right. It's not like that in the maps, though.
That's one off.
This isn't one of our maps, though.
Now what?
You know, I was trying to explain to Jen where it was, and I was looking it up on our maps, which is, it doesn't tell me which one it is.
There's a lot right on it, don't it?
This isn't our number, though. This isn't the number that, is on our maps. So what are six? Oh, that's not right. $300. I can look at this later. Go ahead, I'm not trying to hold anybody up.
Individual selectmen items. What, you got anything?
Depends what I can talk about. Can I talk about the recall?
Nope.
I can nothing?
Well, I mean, if it's procedural and stuff like that, I guess.
Huh?
Yeah, if it's procedural and
Just
stuff.
things that I've heard, and, I talked to 4 people this weekend that have signed the recall paper. And I asked them, I says, why did you sign the recall paper? What was the reason?
Is that procedural?
Huh?
He said.
Terry, Butch has the floor.
Is that
Terry.
procedural?
Terry,
What
Butch
said?
has the floor.
I'm asking you.
I don't
is
know
that
yet, he hasn't
procedural?
finished his question, Terry.
Sounds like it's not procedural. You're supposed to know these things, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
You done?
I don't know, it doesn't sound procedural, so
Well, you've been asked to leave once, you can always go again.
just call a lawyer. Just call a lawyer and ask him.
Look at the
Chuck tells
paper.
him all the time.
Look at the
Take
paper.
your turn.
Look in the book. And plus it was personal, it wasn't anything to do with, because I was selectman or nothing. So, but I asked them and they said, well, she showed us a paper of your yard. So we're trying to get the state to have them clean this up, that's why we're doing this.
All right, well,
Right from both of them's mouth.
yep, no,
And I explained to them, you know, and I said, they said, well, is that right? They,
all right,
you know,
Yep.
so just out there, the people out there can hear what's going on.
all right. Anything else, Butch?
That's it. Oh, yeah, I don't really clear like being called a meathead when I'm walking into this yard, Terry. Plus, I don't like somebody filming me without asking. You do it again, I will call authority, because you ain't got no right, then put it out on Facebook or wherever you put it. So, keep it
Or
up.
wherever I put it, well,
Keep
where
it
did I
up.
put it? Who
Keep it
told
up.
you I put it somewhere?
Keep it up.
Don't leave everything in here.
Rita?
I did want to, mention, I've actually heard a couple of things too. I'd like to clarify that, when I did call the insurance company earlier about the fire station, the insurance, because I wasn't able to get a list of items that needed to be done on the buildings that were obviously in ill repair. So I had thought that it would be the right thing to do to call the insurance company and get an inspection. That's what I would do if I had an issue with my own home. I would call an insurance company, get an inspection, see how much it was gonna cost to repair. That was my thoughts as a new selectman. And it didn't cost $20,000. It cost for the, engineer report was $5,455. And like they said, it's been used many times, this structural report. I gave it to the chief the first, when we made him an offer. And like I said, it's been used. And last week I gave a copy to our code enforcement officer who had no idea what needed to be worked on down there because no one had given him a copy of it. So this has been a valuable document.
I thought we had one from 2016.
This was a valuable
I
document.
thought
So
we
what,
already had one though.
that was 4 years old. A lot can happen to a building in 4 years.
Did you know about
And it
that
was
one?
2014.
Did you know about that one?
No, I didn't, not until I did the research and found it.
After you called the insurance company?
I was doing research,
How much was the air quality test?
and the air quality was $3,902, which I also think is a good investment in our people. That if there were mold issues, which you had brought up, the mold issues, that we shouldn't have had personnel in a building that had moldy issues. So fortunately, there was no mold issues, but, so the total was not $20,000, it was $9,357, which was an investment in our fire department.
Did you compare the two engineering reports to see if anything was different?
Yes, I did.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, just I would like to discuss some more about the cannabis rollout. Is there anything new on that?
Not that I know of.
Well, in August, there was $2,864 in lawyer fees that you and James, it was James and you on the lawyer's bill for August.
Yeah. We had them write the.
No, this was after the vote.
Okay.
So-
Conference call you were on with the lawyer? I don't understand your point.
I'm just wondering why we've invested all this money and we still aren't
Because we
implementing
have to
it.
have a town meeting. And COVID is putting restrictions on that.
A town meeting to implement our,
Didn't you, James, did you have a conversation with him?
no, not about a town meeting.
We spent about 90 minutes going over why it couldn't be implemented.
We had nothing about a town meeting.
Didn't we vote on a statute?
Terry, James has the floor.
Yeah, we actually did. We talked about the things that are potentially needing changing and they can't be changed without a town meeting. That Friday that we got together, about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay, well, but we already have, so we're not gonna be implementing these at all, these ordinances?
As I told you in our meeting, some of that stuff is potentially harmful to the town, so it can't be discussed publicly.
Well,
But-
I haven't got anything from our lawyer.
Let me finish, please. But in our discussion, we went into a lot of detail about why we can't implement it without correcting some things first.
Well, I
And
think
if
we need
do go
to
forward
let people
without-
know.
If we do go forward without correcting it, it's gonna expose the town to significant liability, and
Is,
that's what's going on.
And it can't be corrected without a town meeting, and the COVID issues complicate that.
So the statute, the way it was voted, the ordinance, the way it was voted in, has potential to be problematic for the town.
Correct.
No, actually, no. At the time of the vote, it had no problem.
No, yes, but it has potential at this.
At this time, it does,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so everything was good the way that it got voted on as an ordinance, just like any other ordinance, it's written out, people vote on it, it's implemented.
Mhm.
So is that why the cannabis committee was formed? Because there arose problems from the voted for ordinance after it was voted for?
Can you say that in English?
no,
I think I
we,
get it.
No,
no,
I'm not, no, I'm,
I don't know what your question was.
Yep. The question is, we voted an ordinance in to allow it. The ordinance was written out, that is what people voted for, exactly what was written on the ordinance.
Correct.
So, at what point did there become a necessity to have a cannabis committee?
well, the original purpose for the cannabis committee was to write the ordinances. And
So then what did people vote on that got voted in prior?
there was just the ordinances
The
that
cannabis committee was
we had
formed
voted
prior
in.
to the vote.
Yes,
So, so it was written, everybody voted on the ordinance as the cannabis committee thought it was appropriate, and they voted for it. So why isn't it implemented now? what's the holdup? I mean, do we hold up every ordinance that gets voted in by people?
When there's a lawsuit against another town that they get found, that they lose, yes?
Yeah,
Because of the way the ordinance was written.
No.
So I can
What
provide
do you
some
mean, no?
clarification that might answer
Because of
that
the way the
question.
ordinance was written,
Yeah.
it now poses a potential problem for the town.
Well, yeah, but at the time it wasn't a problem. There was litigation against another town, and there was a decision by a court that set
Which set a
precedent.
precedent, yeah, very good, Mr. Russell.
Oh, thank you, Terry. Yes,
So
James?
just to provide clarification for people on camera, one of the clauses in the ordinances was that the select board would determine when to begin the licensing process. Part of the reason that clause was put in was because there were things that we knew both at the state and within the judicial system had chances of being problematic. As has turned out, one of those issues has become problematic, and until it's resolved, we either could go forward with the way it is, in which case we will get sued and we will lose. That's been made adamantly clear. Or we can take the time it takes to correct that situation.
Well, I think we as a board should be discussing this, because we have not.
I know. We haven't.
So I would like to
We are discussing it right now.
discuss it. Well,
Can you schedule it to be discussed ahead of time, so assumably people could do their homework and research? Is that possible to schedule ahead of time, so it's not thrown in people's lap at the last minute with no time to prepare?
So that's what's happening now.
That's what's been happening, you just throw things in people's lap with no time
Alright,
to
Terry,
prepare. to the-
Terry.
well, no, my issue is that we really haven't discussed it as a board. It's just been James and Chuck.
Because of the COVID issue.
James,
Because of the COVID, because of the COVID.
Yeah, you wanna
because
see
of
the lawyer
COVID.
bills?
Yes.
Corinna, I've kept you in the loop on everything that's going on.
But the
We need to
cannabis
talk to
committee's
you.
already
Terry, please.
The
No, it's
cannabis
not.
committee is in the past, before the vote.
Yeah, our cannabis, and that's another thing. I think we should be talking that as a board. Our cannabis committee was dissolved,
Right?
and I think we should be handling it as a board.
I
Handling
think
what?
her objection is the fact that I'm involved.
No, I don't think it's your personal, I think that the
No, I'm
amount
not.
of interjection.
Terry, the
by
amount of
people
interjection that you're doing,
habitually, oh, you don't have a problem with other people interjecting.
I do. I think I've
feel
asked
like it's appropriate.
everyone
You
to
have
be
a problem
quiet.
with me, again, discriminating. And the gentleman that was here earlier, I believe his name was it Mike?
Yeah, he was on the cannabis committee too.
Well, he definitely made a valid point that the potential lawsuits for this town in relation to 5-minute limits, making rules, not giving other board members a chance to do their homework, throwing things at them at the last minute, has a huge potential for lawsuits. Allowing pain in the butts like Terry, instigating and allowing pain in the butts like Terry to be assaulted by other members in this room and other participants in this room, like what happened, is absolutely atrocious.
It's
Don't sit
atrocious
there and
is how
act like you
you,
don't know why you're
what's
on
atrocious is you
call
hijacking
and
this
you
meeting.
have nothing on,
Okay.
you're innocent.
Okay, so my point being is, I think we as a board need to get together to discuss.
Yeah, it's
these
disgusting, you should be disgusting with yourself,
We
Mr.
need to
Russell.
we need to discuss more about this cannabis rollout in a formal manner.
Well, I think this is the first time that the public's been able to
Terry.
be clear on what the standstill is. It's no fault of the board that it's at a standstill. There's a lot of people that are gonna be glad to comprehend that it's no fault of the board as a group or as individuals that that's at a standstill. So now that's understood by the public. So that is progress.
Going off the advice of the attorneys, so I don't know what to tell you, Terry.
Well,
I just said now people know why it's at a stalemate, it's understandable, and,
And I'm sure they appreciate you informing them.
well, why not? The
I agree.
people have the right to be informed
I
of
agree.
what's going on, do they not?
They do.
Or are we
Absolutely.
censoring things?
No one's censoring anything, Terry.
Maybe you, but that's about it.
So,
You're gonna let her talk to me like that and make derogatory comments to me and your.
You wanna talk about derogatory-
hey, Dee, please, Dee, please.
You wanna talk about derogatory comments, Terry? 'Cause
Dee,
you go right
please,
now.
Dee, no, please.
No,
All right,
sit your
Dee.
friggin' mouth.
Dee, please,
Mouth?
please. Yes, Deborah?
Thank you for stopping your girlfriend. But,
Yes.
I just want to make a point that court was yesterday, and I wasn't charged with any assault. And I would appreciate very much this board asking your participants to stop charging me and trying me with assault in this boardroom, because you and Paul and Lynn and Butch do not have the authority to charge me or find me guilty of assault. And I'm sick of it being mentioned in this boardroom in derogatory ways. Thank you.
You're welcome, Deborah.
Mr. Russell instigated that whole thing by insisting that the door be shut.
Yes, Karina, please. Thank you
Yeah,
very
your
much.
innocence is ridiculous.
Yes, quite.
All right, Paul, what do you got for individual selectmen items? Deborah, please.
I think I'm all set.
Yeah, I'm sure she was saying.
Jesus.
We've had 3 board members recently well, 2 board members and 1 department head that said that they will not come into this room due to our lack of precautions for COVID. There was a new order that came out today. I'm not sure anybody read
I haven't got a
the.
chance to read that yet.
Give you a chance to read that over, and maybe we can discuss this again next week.
Yeah.
To see what precautions we can improve. They are relaxing some of the requirements, so maybe we can do something so that the department heads and the board members can come in.
Absolutely.
So,
Do you want to put that on the agenda for next week?
yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I meant to last week and I didn't get there, is that the report came back from the state for the assessment ratio for the town of Lebanon. And it's now down to 77%. And what the assessment ratio is what the actual assessment that the town assigns to the property versus what the actual sales price is. And it's now got to the point where there's a 77% difference between the two. That affects us greatly when it comes to our homestead exemption for tree growth, personal property values, and places like CMP, who pays a large tax bill. They get to save money because our ratio is down. Until the assessment that we are currently going through with the assessors, and we get that new assessment in place, we won't get that ratio back up, and it just keeps dropping. It's going to start costing us much more money. Oh, lots of money, put it that way.
Should we try to put that on the ballot in June, to try to push that forward again like we did before?
Well, I think this year is the year that they actually roll it out, if I remember right. Mr. McDonald's supposed to come in to see us, so, it might be the time to talk about that, but he asked not to come in until after he got through all the tax season, so it'd be probably November before we get to see him. Just to give you a heads up that is out there. Where's the other one? I guess that's it. Are we gonna be doing the?
What does he anticipate it going up to after the rollout?
Well, we'll go back to 100% if we get the assessment right. But when you look at the sale prices that houses are going for $250 and we're marking them at $128, there's a big difference.
Yes, Deborah?
Excuse me, Paul, I just want to make it a point that this has been dropping for quite some time. Even
Yes.
prior, you're a senior person on this board, and it was even prior to your election that this rate began to drop. And other boards have attempted to repair this by placing questions on the ballot that were denied. I just don't want people to think it's any of your fault that this is happening. And that this is something that's been steadily declining for a few years. People haven't really noticed on their homestead exemption. I think they're gonna really start noticing this year because it was upped by the state to 25,000, and I can't remember what Ted said we were gonna realize out of that, but it's
22.
much, 22. So where people are gonna start really noticing the difference in their exemption, and I think they're going to begin to point fingers that we're getting less money on our homestead exemption, and our veterans exemption is one you didn't mention, but that's also accounted for. And I just want people to realize that this started happening even a few years prior to Paul, who's a senior on this board, even a few years prior to Paul coming in to this board. So all of these people that are sitting before you are victims of that whole process that included a vote that didn't allow for an increased assessment rate.
There was someone from the state that came in, do you remember, and did a presentation? And I think she said it went back 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And that the state can actually mandate a reevaluation if the town doesn't do it, so.
Thank you.
We're getting close.
Yes, we are.
Anything else, Paul?
No, that's it for me.
Go to the town.
Okay,
Well, I have no individual selectmen items tonight.
Does anybody else like to go first for the good of, I don't know. So there are a few things, first thing I want to thank, Selectman Lazat, today for his help. Things are moving along so quickly at the fire station that, they have like all the indoor walls pulled off, and it's all in that meeting room, and we need to get that cleaned out so that we can pour that leveling floor there shortly this week, I believe. And I reached out to Butch. They got a high price for a dumpster container. Reached out to Butch, and he's making some calls, and he's gonna get us a dumpster over there, hopefully. Knock on wood, right, Butchie?
Simpson.
Yeah, and
We ordered, usually $200 to set up and take away. He said he would cut it in half. And this all depends what tonnage that he has to pay for to get himself out of it.
but already just to place it, Butch has it $200 cheaper. So when that all happens, we'll do a big thank you to Simpson and to Butch, because Butch is the one that's making it happen. So I just want to also reach out to the other members of the board that have been helping so much. Chucky and Jeff, I just can't even believe Jeff got us, nobody could get us a cheaper price on that paint. Jeff managed to get it for us $8 a gallon cheaper, a cost savings that was, I helped him, he realized that and told me prior to me picking up checks for people, so I asked people to donate by the gallon, so they were only donating $32 a gallon rather than $40, and that paint's been ordered, we're expecting that also next week.
Nice.
So, huge thanks, and really only a handful of businesses. Bachelor's Tractor Sale, Miners Diner, 4x4 Proving Grounds, the Zellers gave us a nice amount, and of course Mitch. And Mitch is a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just can't do jumping my first paint.
No, Chuck did.
Chip Harlow did too.
Jim and Russell, and I was going to the individual people next. Calm down.
I'm calm.
Jim and Russell and former select board member Chip Harlow both purchased a gallon of paint apiece, and Jeff, you know what, he's kind of exempt because he saved us $8 a gallon on all of that, so we're happy with Jeff, and all of it is paid for. That money has been given over to the fire corporation, and it is in a line item specifically for paint. And so we're good to go. We're waiting for that poured floor to get done in the back room there. I stopped by there today and almost had a heart attack because there was another hole in a different area of the floor, but they have some fellows over there putting in sub pumps to make sure that never happens again. Any water that begins to collect underneath the station will be pumped out immediately, and that's all being done. And when I saw the hole, I was speechless, and then Chief said, no, this is great, and he told me all about it, and I'm right on board with that too. He's amazing, and I credit this board 100% with your choice of this chief. I can't tell you the great things that I hear back from the community and how much everybody, in his short time here, they all just love him. Everybody just loves him. All the former firefighters have been down there and hanging out down at the station watching things happen again, something that hasn't happened for years. So I want to give great credit to this board, including Jeff, who's not here. But I want to give you guys great credit. You chose a great chief, and I'm particularly thankful for the allowance to volunteer with him, because I couldn't choose a better man.
They finally brought the community together.
Yeah, very much so. One team, one fight, Butch, you know? And I'm right on board with him with that, so, yeah. The next thing is that there are a bunch of Halloween events coming up. I wanted to mention Georgie with her rec department. She's got quite a bit of candy coming in, and she's having a trunk or treat or a drive-through trick or treat of some kind on October 24th. That's happening down at the KOA campgrounds on 21 Flat Rock Bridge Road. And they've donated space, and she's looking for people to help decorate. They're gonna do some kind of a drive-through.
Yeah, you know when that's gonna be?
October 24th. Yeah, October 24th. So everybody's welcome down there. Bring your kids, go down there, have a good time, or go down there and help decorate, bring candy. Georgie's advertisement says everybody brings their own candy to give out, and so we should be good there. The next thing that will be happening will be on October the 30th, which is traditionally called Beggars Night, the night before Halloween. Crystal Adams is spearheading a group out of Colonial Mobile Homes. She's got I think at her last count, she said she had 53 homes down there that are gonna light up and are gonna give out candy. They're doing a traditional trick-or-treat with everything except for hand-to-hand. They're gonna put bags out and everybody will be able to take it for COVID compliance. They're also allowing people that do not live in Colonial Mobile Homes. There are several homes down there that have said, you know, bring a pop-up tent and come on down and set up on our lawn and give out candy. So they're hoping to get the community all together and come down for a traditional outdoor walk in the dark with your kids trick-or-treat in Colonial Mobile Homes. Please get in touch with Crystal Adams if you're interested in that. October 31st, which is Saturday night, Halloween night, Darlene Deem, she has Darlene's Pizza, but she's such an incredible community person. She's always got stuff going on, doesn't she, Butch?
Yeah, she does.
She's doing a trunk or treat at her place on Route 202, the Darlene's Pizza and more. I think it's 431 Carl Broggie Highway she is, and she's inviting people to come down, decorate your car trunks, bring your kids. It's going to be a trunk or treat event, and I guess everybody's going to walk around. It's going to have people all in that field, and that sounds like it's going to be that's October 31st, Saturday night. Yep, Halloween night. And finally, last but not least, we're having our annual Toys for Lebanon Kids benefit. Halloween night at Miner's Diner. Everything's going to start around 4. We're just going to go till 9. We have the Great Texas Pete is coming, and we're so excited to have them. 3 Shades of Grey. Mike Quigley is going.
Great band.
Your favorite guy there, Chuck. He's coming down there to play too, and he and Skip are amazing. Yeah, I hope he brings his megaphone. Me too, because that was fun. But 3 Shades of Grey. I think that Mel had told me she's got a group coming too called Diamond Edge. They've played down there with us before, and they're really good. Real kind of an easy rock group, 60s and 70s easy rock, and we were just real excited putting together a great night, raffles, and of course Cindy's going to be down there. We're hoping to have our fire department guys that are off duty come on down, because this is a program of your East Lebanon Fire Corporation, and usually we get a lot of support from our fire folks, and I'm sure Chief will be right on.
So that's for the toys down there.
Yeah, we average about 100 kids, give or take, every year that we give toys and gifts to, and just so that folks know that that's coming up.
Do you take a percentage?
Listen here. I only want the stuffies, but anyway, anyway, there, just so that people know that this is coming up, we'll be having applications here, probably around mid-November. And if even if it's not your kid, if you know a kid that needs something, like get to us. We take all children, infant to age 16. And if they have if there's like a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, and they have a sibling that's 18 years old, we don't leave the 18-year-old out. Please make sure you tell us about the 18-year-olds too. And we take donations of new unwrapped toys. We'll be taking that at Miners on the 31st to kick that off. We'll also have our usual collection boxes, usually at Dollar General, Welch's Hardware, Trains, and Miners. So I hope everybody, when you go out and you start your holiday shopping, you'll think of the kids in Lebanon that need gifts. Traditionally, our hardest to buy for is between age 12 and 16.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of gifts for those kids donated, and we usually wind up having to go out and get things. But because everybody wants to buy for the little ones because their toys are really cute. But please remember that we have a lot of kids in this town that are 12 to 16 that we buy for every year. So,
I'd like a sled.
you want a sled?
Yeah.
You're not.
You want to bet on the sled? Anyway, I guess the only other thing that I can think about is we also we have something in town here that not a lot of people know that we can access, and that's called Victims Inc. And when you have a traumatic death in your home, or a death by an automobile accident, and you're alone, a lot of times even our own state police do not call Victims Inc. because they say to me, who's there, and say, did you call Victims Inc. yet? They say, we can't call them, they're New Hampshire, Stratford County, New Hampshire. And yeah, I argue with them, and they do wind up calling and find out. Victims Inc. does come to Lebanon. Either the victim has to know and ask, or somebody has to get the state police to call, or if it's a traumatic death that the fire department has been involved in, the chief can also call. Victims Inc. has helped so many people in this town, and they help you from the moment that they're called, and they help you navigate services, they help you navigate having counseling, they help you navigate the funeral, they attend the funeral with you, and they stand right beside you there. I can't say enough about how amazing they are to people who are really struggling. And they do all of this off of generous donations. And this year, because of COVID, they didn't get to have their yard sales in the spring and in the summer. They did have one Labor Day weekend, and they have one coming up, which is Columbus Day weekend. This effort locally is spearheaded by Rose Woods, who is a Lebanon resident, and everybody probably knows her. I don't know if you guys do, but Rosie's a good girl, and her husband Larry was on our fire department for years, and Natasha also on our fire and EMS department for years, and Rosie now works as one of the leads over there at Victims, and she will do anything to help you. And please, just
family?
clean out your cellars. I'm sorry?
Is that Skip's?
No. Two different, Wood and Woods.
Okay.
But clean out your basements, clean out your cellars, throw out your summer clothes, bring them on down there to Victims Inc. They're located at Shoryville Plaza, which most people think of Roma Joe's Plaza. That's where they are. And just bring all your stuff in. They're willing to take it and put it out there. They set prices at first, and then like towards the end of it, it's like, just give us a donation and take it home with you. But every penny goes to help local trauma victims.
Nice.
And they have go in their office and just look, every family gets to make a big quilt block of their person that passed, and they have beautiful memory quilts hanging all over it's very emotional to walk into their office and see, and there are a lot of Lebanon people on those quilts. So I'm just saying, that's coming up, Victims, and they're taking donations now. It's next weekend. Get on it, and you'll help them out, and I'd appreciate that very much too.
Good hot and sour soup in that plaza too.
Whoa, that stuff is good. Now, I don't like tofu, so I have mine with no tofu, extra mushrooms, but I'm just saying, that stuff is so good. Real good.
James, Dee Dee, anything good at the town? Lynn, will you do me a favor? Will you set the phone up here, and I'll be right back.
You might.
I might have the privileges of being his girlfriend, so I might know. I don't know. My sister wife knows too, I think. My sister wife might know too.
I don't know.
Representative Kryzak wanted to speak to us tonight.
Oh, okay. Great guy.
No, now it's 2:07.
Thanks.
Just saying.
Hello,
Hello, Ted, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Chuck. I just want to clarify, you guys were discussing the Homestead Act. I'm on the taxation committee, and I want to let all of you know, lady and gentlemen of the board, I was involved in hearing all the testimony about how we voted for the new, going from 20,000 to 25,000. I voted against going to the 25,000, and here's why. Everybody believes that they're getting a $20,000 deduction off of the value of their property, but the state is only reimbursing the towns at 79%. So what they did, because it's an election year, is they added $5,000 on, and they're gonna reimburse the $5,000 at 100%. But the $20,000 is still going to be reimbursed at 79%. So when you get your $20,000, you think you're saving some money, but the town still has a budget and has to distribute to everybody in town to make up for that money so that they can make their budget. So it was a campaign thing in order to make everybody think that they were getting more money off of their taxes, but the town still has to make up that difference between 79% and 100% of the $20,000. The other thing is normally any funding that comes from the state that goes to the towns is decided based on how much is left over what the budget for the state is. This year there was money left over, but because of COVID, it's already been spent. So when you do your budget this year, you need to realize that funding from the state is probably going to be less than it has been for a while, for the next 3 years, to be sure, because we have a $1.5 billion deficit at the state level that we have to make up if we ever get back into session again. So I just wanted to clarify to all of you when you're starting your budget process to realize that anything you counted on in the state before is probably not going to be coming to you for the next 3 years.
So that makes the homestead exemption, like what, 21,000 then, in real numbers?
Yeah, you have to make up the other 4,000 by charging everybody the tax on that in order to make your budget.
Yeah.
So you're not getting you're getting $25,000 off the evaluation, but the town still has to make up that difference.
Right.
And the state's only going to reimburse you for $21,000.
So it looks good. It looks good, but it's not what it really, it's a shell game kind of thing.
Right, yeah. When we vote on something in any committee, if you vote against it, then they ask what the minority opinion is. And I voted against it, and my minority opinion was we should fund every town for the full $20,000, which would have given the town more money than giving them $5,000 at 100% and $20,000 at 79%.
Okay. Deborah has a question.
Hi, Ted.
Okay. Hey, Deb.
Hey, so does that, when you're saying the stuff that comes back to the town, is that also going to include things like the additional road money and like general assistance and other things that traditionally the state pays a portion back to the town?
Yeah, what I'm trying to make everybody aware is for this year alone, and of course, we have a constitutional, rule that we have to have a balanced budget by June 30th of every year in the state, which is a great thing. We have to come up with $500 million in order to do that this year. And we have not done any cutting, and the governor has not let us come back into session. She's hoping for more money from the feds, but that's one-time money. So we've got our work cut out for us as far as how we're going to save $500 million. Now, we have voted twice not to go back into session when the speaker and the president of the Senate called us back because we wanted to negotiate what we were going to vote on. We left over 600 bills on the table when we left in March. And most of those 600 bills were new programming, new hiring, and new costs. So we said, no, we won't go back and vote on those 600 bills. We're going to let them die on the table. But we will go back and vote on everything that's necessary for COVID. And the other mistake we made in March was we voted to give the governor the powers based on a bill that was written in 2011. And in that bill, it was because of a snowstorm. And we gave the governor emergency powers in order to get the federal funds to help us reimburse the towns for all the extra plowing that they hadn't budgeted for that year. But
I remember when you did that, and towns were grateful.
What we didn't realize was that there was no deadline on that. There was no way to stop that emergency power once we gave her that. And then we discovered that when we gave her the power in March, that as long as she keeps saying, extending an emergency out 30 more days, 30 more days, 30 more days, then the legislature can't do anything. And we're supposed to be the ones that are in charge of the budget. We need to get back and decide how the coronavirus money should be spent. And we need to get back and amend that bill to say that every 30 days, the legislature has to vote again on whether to give the governor the power to continue on.
So Ted, so basically with the federal money coming in, they'll probably be able to make the balanced budget this year, but it's next year and the year after you're worried about that the federal money won't be coming in?
Exactly. It's a one-time thing because of the coronavirus. If the coronavirus goes away after June 30th next year, there's not going to be any more federal money coming into the states. And we'll still have $1 billion over the next 2 years because of all the loss of money we've had from the coronavirus. If you remember when we were all stuck in our houses, nobody was buying gas, nobody was paying tolls, nobody was paying sales tax. So all of the funding that they based this budget on for this year and next year didn't come in. So we have to make it up some way, and the only way to make it up is to cut spending.
So short-sighted. So this year they'll be fine, but the next 2 years we're in trouble.
It's interesting because what's happened is because everybody was home, it seems like people were drinking a lot more. So they got a whole bunch of money buying alcohol.
We can do that.
So all of the extra money that came from alcohol is already going towards that $500 million. And I can't remember how many million it was, but it was a lot because the state owns the liquor. They farm it out to people, but they get paid for, just like New Hampshire does, they get paid for all the liquor that's sold in Maine. So that's already gone. And we had extra money had come in the last year over what we budgeted for, and she's using that also to make up that $500 million. So we'll make the budget this year, but the year after and the year after. But what I'm saying, from being a former selectman in Acton for 6 years, the money from the state changes every year. So what I'm telling you is if, you thought you were going to get more, you're not. You're probably going to get a lot less over the next 3 years.
Which will raise the mill rate even if we keep the budget the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the insight. Anything else? Anybody want to talk to Ted? Anything else?
Anybody have any questions?
Just good luck in November, Ted. We love you.
Thanks, Seth. I do watch all your meetings. I can't attend many right now because, as you can imagine, I'm pretty busy.
Yeah.
But I watch the meetings, and when I can, I catch them live, and I just happened to get home in time to watch you guys talking about the homestead exemption, and I wanted to explain that. I mean, we could have done it. We could have passed it where we paid you back 100%, and it just was not acceptable. You got to realize that, you know, we have the House, the Senate, and of course the governor has an overwhelming majority. That's why we didn't get that back.
All right, well, I appreciate you taking the time to inform us and watch our meetings and kind of help us along with that information.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions,
Not hearing you, Ted. What'd you say?
if anybody ever has any questions, don't hesitate to call me. I'd be happy to answer them. And if I could, when people contact me for any issues at the state level, please make sure that you put down that you're part of District 20, because on some issues, I get emails from all over the country, and I only listen to the ones that come from my district.
All right. And what's your email address, Ted?
KRY.
I'm sorry, we're losing you again.
TKRY at metrocast.net.
Tell him to check his.
Say one more time.
TKRY, like a T Kryback, TKRY
Yep.
at metrocast.net.
And District 20 in the subject line?
Yeah, or, put your Lebanon or, whatever you want to put down. The other thing is I've got a 4-hour daily commute, so if you need to talk to me, leave your phone number, and on those 4 hours I'm driving, hands free, I'll call you back.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ted.
Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too. Good night, folks.
Night. That is the truth. He will talk to you the whole way.
Oh, he's great. He said anybody ever wants to talk to him, he'll call him and talk to him, which is amazing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, it's pretty, next 2 years gonna be pretty.
Pretty tight.
Great.
Better make sure you put somebody on the budget committee that can follow that along.
I said, I'll gladly pay you for a hamburger tomorrow for,
Yeah.
I can pay you Tuesday for
For
a hamburger today.
Yeah.
A lot of money to spend, you know that it's been collecting.
oh yeah,
It's gotta be paid back somewhere.
yep.
Same with the federal boys.
El Rock was 5% lower this year.
So are you guys, like almost ready to adjourn?
Oh, wow.
Cause I just have one more thing I just wanna say too.
Yes.
Is that, that right now we're in some pretty terrible times as far as attitudes in town. And I just want to say, I enjoy our selectmen's meetings. I think most people enjoy the cordial way that they're treated in these selectmen's meetings. Karina, you've been through some rough times. Some of it's your fault, some of it isn't. But, you do a good job, and you're always friendly to people, and I appreciate that. And Chuck, the two of you are just like at odds all the time. Karina's trying to handle it as well as she can. You're trying to handle it. You're always friendly. You're out there talking to everybody. Paul's so helpful when it comes to people that come in and they have an issue and they need somebody to talk to. It's very easy to sit down with Paul. Butchie's just right out there.
Just here.
He's like, Butchie's kind of out there, We know. But,
Way out.
But if you ever need anything in this town that you need somebody to get out there and put his back into it, put his arms into it, call Butchie, because he's the one. He's right there. And Jeff, he's got his place too. He does a lot of work with the federal government, and I think that shining a light here with some of the federal things has been helpful. And I just want to say that no matter how this goes on October 28th, and no matter what you guys' personal restrictions are or whatever's going on with you guys personally, I hope you don't ever change the cordial atmosphere of this meeting, because people are in here complaining and wanting you to be stricter, wanting you to be rude. I think that the voice of the people is heard in this meeting, and I think that you've all done, every one of you has done a good job at hearing people's voices, hearing people's complaints, hearing when people go on forever. I think you've all done a good job at that, and I just hope whatever it is between you two, I hope that I see you out there saying, don't screw up all of this. I hope I see you saying, don't screw up all of this. And I hope you all stand up for each other, because it's not easy. It's not easy for you, and it's not easy for you. But to attack each other when there's only 5 of you it makes things very difficult. So give it some good thought, and I hope everybody has good karma, and I hope everything stays the same after October 28th.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, well said, Deb.
You got something there you wanna talk about?
Just what we talked to Tim about, I just want to read the ordinance.
Okay. I know we have an executive session tonight for personnel matters, right?
Yes.
Any thought on postponing that a week till Mr. Adams is here?
That's fine with me.
Is everybody else okay with that?
Is it something that can wait a week?
Yes?
Well, I think so.
Well, I don't always know what you're planning on discussing, that's all.
That's what I was talking about.
Deb,
No, I don't. I don't know who we're discussing. It could have been fire personnel. I don't know. I don't get the memos all the time.
It's a Snyder March.
please, we discussed.
Excuse me, we're discussing.
I'm just letting you know.
Please,
Rude.
please. We discussed last week that we would do the interviews, and then this week we would have an executive session. I think
Budget.
everybody was here for that. The executive session was for budget committee appointments. As was stated last week, you were not left out of that. And I think Jeff should be a part of that decision. Does everybody else agree?
Yeah, I don't think 1 week's gonna make that.
Okay.
On my side, I don't see 1 week make a difference.
Well, thank you for reminding me of that.
You're welcome. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Yeah.